Hey, this is Rob with South Main Travelers, and I'm going to answer a question today. Who's better, Carnival or Royal Caribbean? Now, obviously it's going to be subjective, but what I wanted to do is really do a side-by-side comparison of a ship from Carnival and a ship from Royal Caribbean's fleet. What I decided to go with was the Carnival Spirit and Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Seas because they're of similar age, similar size, and a lot of similarities as far as a good side-by-side comparison. And we'll get to that right after this. So what I want to start with is let's talk about the ships. Both ships were built in the early 2000s. They both are about the same size, around 100,000 tons, gross tons, whatever. And they're similar age, similar size, and they have a similar number of like food service and entertainment options. But what I want to do is get a comparison of the two ships. So let's talk about the age of the ships and the condition, how well they've been maintained. Well, we were on both ships within 6 months of one another. I would have to say, as far as the upkeep of both ships, they've done really well in both cases. I really didn't see anything that really showed the age, because both, like I said, are built in the early 2000s, so they're getting close to 20 years old at the time of this recording. So they've got some age on them, but they're really not showing it that much. I believe both have been updated in the not too distant past. So let's talk about the accommodations, primarily the rooms. We had an interior room on one where we had actually a grand suite on the Carnival Spirit. So it's going to be kind of hard as far as space-wise to really give a comparison, but I have been on the interior rooms of a very similar Carnival ship, so I'm kind of going to use that, as a comparison. Honestly, if it were not for the branding, it would be very hard not to notice which ship you were on from just the interior room. They're very similar. The differences were Royal Caribbean has the shower pods where Carnival has a shower curtain. Carnival's beds are an actual, rectangle or square, where the Royal Caribbean had the rounded corners that, is kind of a thing for Royal Caribbean. Typically on an interior room, you're not going to have a seating area where you did have a seating on Carnival, at least on the Spirit. I did not see an interior, so I really can't compare, and I don't want to, speak out of turn. But the Royal Caribbean did have a very small, almost love seat. It was big enough for 1.5 people, maybe. But we were both able to sit on the sofa in that. But honestly, the accommodations, the rooms were very, very similar as far as the condition, the amenities, and the storage, power options, and all that. They were very similar. One thing that I will have as a negative with my Royal Caribbean experience, the bed was definitely not comfortable. I do kind of like the shower pod that's in the Royal Caribbean, but that I think is kind of a preference thing. I know the curtains can get a little clingy. So let's talk about the main dining room experience. I will say that the main dining room is very similar with both. The spacing between the tables was adequate. You weren't really crammed in on either ship. The service, I just can't say enough about the service on both ships. My main dining room experience on both the Carnival Spirit and the Royal Caribbean Serenade of the Sea was absolutely second to none. Main dining room experience, I'm going to give it's pretty even. Out of nobody really wins that one. Both were just excellent. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the other complimentary food options that are on both ships. On the Carnival Spirit, you've got the Guy's Burgers, the Blue Iguana Cantina, you have the deli and the Pizzeria del Capitano. That's just about it for complimentary. You have some room service. Most of the room service now is getting a charge on it. That's a recent change. I think there are a few items that are still complimentary, but I could be wrong on that. On the Serenade of the Seas, again, the room service, I think it has some pay, some free options on room service. Their deli, completely had drawn a blank on the name of the deli. It's, I think, in my opinion, very limited. It's also not open at great times. It's just really sparse when it's open. The other pizza, that was at the buffet. I could have missed it, but I did not see pizza being served anywhere but at the buffet. Now, as a comparison, of course, on Carnival, I believe the deli is open till 11. The buffet runs kind of later. The pizza, it's not 24 hours, but it almost is. I mean, they run till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and then kick back up again at 6 a.m., I believe. Double check on that before you hold me to it. So for late night options, Carnival wins this hands down, because when we were on the Serenade of the Seas, there was one incident where literally they rolled up I don't want to say streets, but I guess the the walkways at 9 o'clock. I did not see hardly anywhere you could get anything after 9. Very restricted on late night food options. I think there might have been some grab and go sandwiches at the deli, but I didn't go check there for that specifically. I definitely want to say Carnival's Deli gets a significant boost on that matter. They got that one hands down. So for complimentary food options, I'm going to have to give this one to Carnival. They definitely had a lot more options for the that are included in your cruise fare, and they were also a lot more options if you're out at one of the nightclubs, you're out listening to music, and you kind of run into the evening. They have a lot more options for food that are easy to locate. Okay, so let's look at specialty dining, the upcharge dining experiences. Now, Carnival Spirit does not have very much in the way of specialty dining. They do have a steakhouse. I did not actually eat on Carnival Spirit's steakhouse. But I have had a Carnival Steakhouse meal many times. I usually try to go to the steakhouse at least once a cruise because it is really good. But we did not go on the Spirit specifically. So I will kind of use my previous experiences with the Carnival Steakhouse in this comparison. We had a Chops Grill lunch embarkation day on the Serenade of the Seas, which was an excellent choice because it was a lot more relaxed, calmer environment. Embarkation day can be crazy. So we did that on purpose to try to find a little bit of serenity in the hectic embarkation day activities. The food was really good. I can't complain about that at all. For what we got, the upcharge that we paid for that was not a lot. I don't think it was too much, but it was a little more. If I'm not mistaken, it was either the same or a little more than we would pay for a steakhouse experience on Carnival for dinner. I believe it was in the $35-ish range. You will need to check for the specifics on that, but it was in that range for the lunch, I believe. But double check on that. So cost wise, it was a lunch, and you're paying on that very close to the amount that you would pay for a steakhouse dinner on Carnival. Food quality on that meal was, it was really good. My experience with the Carnival Steakhouse has also been really, really good. In fact, I think the best steak I have ever had in my life was actually on the Carnival Glory quite a few years ago in their Emerald Steakhouse. And it was just blow you away kind of steak. I would have to say, as far as the steakhouse experience, it's very, very close. I've only had one experience on the steakhouse with Royal Caribbean, and it was a lunch. So it being that and being close to as good as it was with the Carnival experiences, I'm going to leave this with an asterisk that I'm going to give Royal Caribbean the slight edge on the steakhouse experience. We went to Giovanni's Table for dinner one evening, and just comparing that to Cucina del Capitano as the Carnival Italian version that we've been to many, many times. One of my favorite restaurants to eat there. It's food. I like it all. Giovanni's Table, as much as I like Cucina del Capitano, blew away. I mean, it was hands down the better option of the two. That being said, the upcharge for Cucina del Capitano is, I believe, $18 at the time I'm recording this, where we paid, don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking we paid $45 per person for Giovanni's Table. Again, like I said, it was definitely a better experience. The food quality, 5-star. Absolutely. Some of the best Italian that I have had. Some of it. I've had some good Italian. But this was really top notch. So that one, you have to weigh the cost. Food quality, the nod goes to Royal Caribbean. Food quality on the Carnival is excellent. I love it, and I will be going frequently. But the cost advantage is definitely for Carnival, where the Italian restaurant is concerned. Now, again, Carnival Spirit does not have an Italian. It does not have Cucina del Capitano on it. So there are more specialty options on the Serenade of the Sea over the Carnival Spirit. So there's that. Buffet. Let's talk about that. I know that's not a specialty, but I did not talk about it in my previous segment, and I meant to, so forgive me for that. I'm going to jump back for just a moment and talk about the buffets. The options on the buffets are very similar. There are, I'm going to say, maybe a wider array on the Serenade of the Sea and the buffet, as it includes burgers and hot dogs and pizza on the buffet, where with Carnival, those you would go to the pizzeria, you would go to Guy's Burgers, and you also have, the deli and the Blue Iguana where you can go get things too. So it isn't really an advantage for the Royal Caribbean's buffet to have those options on their buffet, especially considering the burgers were kind of on par with what you get in your school cafeteria. The burgers were not. I wouldn't eat one. I'll just be honest with you. Unless I was really hungry, there are way too many other options to go to delve into the burgers. The pizza was okay. It didn't, it wasn't exciting. I did not get excited for the pizza. The buffet selections were decent. As far as the general buffet, salad bar, all the different varieties of food, they were good. Well made. I didn't find anything on there that was just looked bad. Really, the only things that did not impress me were the pizza and the burgers that they had up there, I guess, to give variety. But then that's it. It's to give a variety, and that is just my opinion. Some others I know liked it a lot because there were a lot of people getting the burgers. So anyhow. Let me get back to what we were talking about. We were talking about the specialty restaurants. And like I said, on those two ships, there's not a lot of options for specialty. The other thing, the coffee bars. Those are also upcharged. Very, very similar concepts. The latitudes on Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Sea did have some complimentary food options there. I do not think that the Java Blue on the Carnival Spirit had any food options that were complimentary. They did have food options, but those were all upcharges. Quality of the coffees, comparison, really pretty even across the board. I think both really take pride in giving you a good quality coffee or coffee type product. The Royal Caribbean has their coffee card, which gives you purchase the card and you get 15 I'm going to call it shots of coffee. So depending on the size of coffee, it will determine how many punches come off, and you get 15 punches. So if you get the largest one, you're getting 3 punches taken off the card. So there's that. With the Java Blue, Carnival's card is, they didn't do that on one of the cruises, and it may have been I just didn't ask. But they had a card, and if you get 6 punches, you buy 6 coffees, you get the 7th for free. I do think one of the things they did do was they stopped allowing the spiked coffees for that card on Carnival. I used to do that. I get the Chocolate Lovers was my favorite coffee. I get one of those. Sometimes I get one of those every morning. Yes, and it's a spiked coffee in the morning. But hey, I'm on a cruise. And on the 7th, I would get the same coffee. But I believe they've stopped allowing the spiked coffees to be acquired with the punch card on Carnival at the Java Blue. What else food-wise? I believe that covers the food area. Who wins the food war between these two? These two ships, I'm going to give it to Carnival for a couple of reasons. The variety is there on both ships, but the quality of the variety on the complimentary goes to Carnival. The deli, Carnival wins out. Burgers, Carnival wins out. The times that you can acquire food, Carnival wins out. The specialty dining, Royal Caribbean, I'm going to have to give that to them. They have more options. They're more pricey. Their options are definitely a significantly higher upcharge than what you pay on Carnival, but I think they're worth it. So for the specialty dining, I give that to Royal Caribbean. Let's talk about entertainment and amenities. I'm going to go over some of the amenities first, and be totally honest, they're very similar. You have the typical hot tub and pool situation going on. You have the adult only areas. They're a little different. With Carnivals, the Serenade decks are 21 and up, and they are isolated. For the Royal Caribbean, the solarium is 16 and up, and there is a passenger thoroughfare that runs through both sides. So it's usable by children, but they're not really supposed to be sitting in there in the space. They can move through it, but they're not reserving loungers and hanging out in the pool and the hot tubs. So that I like the Carnival's concept on that, where it is an isolated area, it's blocked off, and it is truly a 21 and up area. It's isolated, so if you have a little bit more peace and quiet, you don't have to worry about kids doing kids things. Both have a little, putt-putt golf course. They've got walking tracks. There's fitness equipment that is similar to on both ships. They have the water slides on both ships. Serenade of the Seas does have a rock climbing wall. Both have, they have the kids programs. The entertainment, I would give the entertainment Let's back that up. As far as the shows go, your on stage shows, they're very similar. It's kind of the same kind of feel, the same kind of quality. Good shows, very entertaining. Biggest differences, I say, as far as entertainment goes, there's a lot of similarities. The biggest difference is in the activities. Both have a lot of activities to partake in, but I think Carnival does the activity thing a little better. There's always something going on every Carnival ship I've been on, and this one was no different. There were all sorts of, whether it was a nature talk or whatever, there was activities, the bingo, the whole the trivias and stuff, which are on Royal Caribbean as well. But there seemed to be a little bit more on the Carnival Spirit as far as entertainment wise. Entertainment quality was good on both. I don't put it down either way. So anyhow, entertainment, I think you get a little bit more of an entertainment factor with the Carnival Spirit over the Serenade of the Seas. Again, I'm not knocking either one. I just think the Carnival does the entertainment thing a little bit better on those two ships. Let's talk about the staff interaction. We really didn't have any major issues, so the customer service desk did not get a whole lot of interaction. I did have to deal with a couple of minor issues, but both were dealt with really quick. The interactions, again, like with the wait staff, I had a great experience on both of those ships. All the wait staff was just really just over the top. Matter of fact, these two may have been two of the best interactions with cruise wait staff that I've had. I'm going to say, as far as staff interaction, it's a wash. They were both just awesome. I really don't have a complaint. I mean, the little things that I've had to really get nitpicky about are the only things I can come up with, and they're minor at that. Room stewards, we've talked about those, both, again, on the Carnival Spirit. I had a much higher grade room, so the room steward there only had a couple of rooms, and they were always just Johnny on the spot. Took care of everything really quick, just a fantastic thing. On Serenade of the Sea, we had an interior room, nothing special, and the room steward there, every time we stepped out the door, welcomed us or greeted us by name. Very attentive. We'd ask for ice, the first night for some drinks, and our ice bucket never ran out. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit of a different take. This isn't something that is controlled by the cruise lines themselves. It's something that's more controlled by the cruise that the cruise line is offering. For example, a shorter cruise, you can get a much younger crowd. A longer cruise, or you go to Alaska, it's a little more costly, and so it's going to be a little more mature crowd. It's not going to be your party crowd so much. So those things weigh in factor a lot of this. So I want to compare the passenger makeup, passenger composition for these two cruises. And I want to give you a little more detail about the two cruises before I go into this. The Carnival Spirit was an Alaska cruise. It was an 8-day Alaska cruise. The Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Seas was a Southern Caribbean cruise, or at least a Caribbean cruise, Grand Cayman, Jamaica, and stuff like that. And it was a 8-day cruise. It was also an 8-day cruise. So both were 8-day cruises. One was to Alaska, one was in the Caribbean. The age demographic, average on the Spirit, I would say, was probably in the 40s and 50s. The age demographic on the Serenade of the Seas was probably more 60s and 70s. It's a much older crowd. Not that there weren't younger people on the boat, but there was definitely a more mature crowd on the Royal Caribbean ship. And again, this was just these two cruisings I'm talking about. Demographic on the Carnival Spirit was pretty much what I'm used to seeing on most of the Carnival cruises that I've been on. It seemed like a much older group on the Serenade of the Seas going out of Tampa than it was on the Carnival Spirit going out of Seattle. And the last thing that I really want to cover is going to be cost. The cost between these two in this situation, the Serenade of the Sea was less expensive. That being said, Alaska cruises tend to be much more expensive. So total cost, we probably paid about $1,000 more for the cruise, the 8-day Alaska cruise, than we did for the 8-day Caribbean cruise. But again, like I said, we had booked that one as a balcony, got an upgrade offer to a grand suite. We booked this one as an interior and kept it as an interior. So there's going to be a lot of the cost difference. But I'll be totally honest, I think they're pretty even. It's all a matter of personal preference, how your activity is going to go. If you're one of those who likes to stay up later, if you like, to and I don't like to use the term party so much, but if you like to get into the entertainment on into the evening, Carnival may be more up your alley just because they have more food and activity options later into the evening. Do I think one's better than the other? No. We had a fantastic time on both ships. I can't really come up with a big complaint on either. So if you were hoping for me to pick one over the other, I'm sorry. I just can't. I like them both. And we've got 3 Royal Caribbean cruises booked this next year. So we're going to start working on that loyalty over the next little bit. Matter of fact, one thing that I'm not going to announce it yet, but we've got a really cool cruise coming next year. So follow us, click the like button. If you like this, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. And then you can find out what the big announcement's going to be for next year. We may announce that once we get back from our upcoming cruise with Carnival. It's going to be on the Carnival Pride. We're doing a Europe cruise. So follow along for that. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. You'll get the notifications when we start putting the videos out for the upcoming cruise and anything else. So this is Rob with South Main Travelers. If you like the channel, come on, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you out there on the high seas.